It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Vanessa Emerson. She's a founder of the Dental Speaker Institute and Dental Speakers Bureau. She is known as a thought leader by clients, prospects, meeting planners, and peers. Her marketing services are in high demand, specializing in speaker materials, website design, and email marketing services. She's a member of the Academy of Dental Management Consultants since 2013 and is honored to serve as co-chair of the Academy's marketing committee. Honored by Dental Products and Report as one of the top 25 women in dentistry, Vanessa is known as the go-to resource for inside the industry information that helps meeting planners create better meetings, speakers acquire more bookings, and both to meet their business goals. She is frequently booked by dental organizations who would like to encourage their members to explore and expand their roles as speakers and consultants in dentistry. We've been neighbors for decades. I'm in Phoenix, and she's you're in Tempe or Mesa? You're in Mesa, right?
Mesa.
Mm-hmm. So who has more crime, Mesa or Phoenix?
I don't know. Probably Phoenix.
So how? So let's start with you've been in this biz for 20 years. How has speaking changed from when you started in 2 decades ago to now?
Great question. I think we've seen multiple changes in not only the dental meetings industry, but across meetings in general. There were some pivotal events that made a change in the business of speaking. For instance, the last recession really changed honorariums. You probably saw that, Howard. The importance of sponsorship now in order for a speaker to really be able to earn enough to have it make sense for them to put the time and the investment in to grow a business out of this. Sponsorship has become a big part of the equation. We see well, it's not resurgence, but like just a huge amount of online content now, which is in a way competing for the attention for CE. And so our meetings have to be smarter. They have to be new, innovative, find contemporary ways to draw attendees. I mean, just so those are a couple of the big ones. There are multiple changes and some challenges in the industry, but I want to say right up front, I think dentistry, as far as speaking, for sure, we've got it going on. You know, I think when I look around at some of the other industries, the speaking opportunities, just the way their meetings are structured and especially the pay that's there for speakers, I really think we have a good thing going here in dentistry. Would you agree?
Well, whenever your average customer earns $180,000 a year, I mean, that's just really, really lucrative. I mean, the median household income in the United States has never hit $50,000 a household. And these dentists, I mean, you know, it's nothing for them to make 175. And the good ones can make 250 to 300. So when imagine every one of your patients came into your dental office and they all made $175 to $300,000 a year, we wouldn't even be talking about dental insurance. When you talked about sponsorship, the ADA just removes CE credentials to dental manufacturers and other commercial interests. The ADA CERP eligibility criteria was reversed. Just this April 25th to the 2019, the Commission for Continuing Education Provider Recognition approves revisions to the CERP eligibility criteria, which basically means commercial interests are not eligible for recognition. Is that going to eventually go from online CE to convention CE? I mean, is eventually if you get that sponsorship from a manufacturer, are you going to have to tell the crowd that this lecture CE is not accredited for your ADA?
You know, I would tell you, Howard, I don't consider myself a CE expert. I think there are some others in the field that are definitely more on top of that than I. My area is more around marketing and, you know, building the business from the strategy side. But I would tell you that I think CE is constantly changing, and we have yet to see how that's going to entirely play out.
And how is convention attendance, ever since we're both here in town? When did the University of Phoenix Online start? Wasn't that about, when did they open up? That's what really. How has the online affected convention attendance?
I think there are a number of clinicians, people who require licensure, that would enjoy receiving their CE sitting in their kitchen, holding their cat in their pajamas, right? To be able to do some online CE, and I totally get that. And I think it's not a one or the other. I think there's also great opportunity for our dentists, hygienists, our assistants, those who are looking for that licensure renewal, to be able to get out to their local meetings, their state meetings. We here in Arizona have a great annual session, as well as Arizona Dental Association has multiple other opportunities throughout the year. I think it's a both. But then again, it goes back to what I was saying about, I think we can't just keep reiterating the same old format. We've definitely seen some changes in the format from like 3-hour, 4-hour, 6-hour days to much smaller segments. Keep it varied. I think part of the challenge is there's nothing really entirely. There's some things that are new, but from the clinical standpoint, there's not a whole lot of new for the doctor to bring the team and come out. And so I think that it remains the challenge of those who are planning events to be able to find new ways to really show the value of that face-to-face meeting, which I really believe in.
So what categories, when someone says to you they want help in becoming a dental speaker, they're a dentist or a hygienist, or they're in the dental industry and they're really passionate about sharing information, what subjects, there's about 50 subjects in dentistry. There's 10 specialties, from practice management to pediatric dentistry. What areas are you seeing the most interest when, if 100 people called you up and said, I want to be a speaker, what are the subjects that people want to speak on the most versus what is there the highest demand for?
Okay, a couple things there. My mind's going a couple of different ways. So it just makes me think, when someone is getting started speaking, one of the questions they'll ask me is, what is the hottest topic? And there's not a hot topic. There are those that are always required. There's some new things out there like vaping, CBD, opioids. I mean, there's things that are required in that area for licensure. There are newer topics that are hot. Billing and coding remains hot. OSHA and compliance and infection control, those areas, there's always a demand for that because it's required. So once we step past those ones that are required into more of like practice management and clinical topics, I think dental implants was a big buzz for a lot of years. It's not so much now. I feel like, there's definitely still interest in that, but it's not like a hot topic like it was at one point. What I have seen after being in almost 20 years in the industry and helping speakers and consultants is that I encourage those who feel like they would like to speak and consult in the industry to go into this with the idea of sharing what they're passionate about and where their skill sets are. Because I imagine, I anticipate we're on the same track with this, Howard, is that there's always going to be a need for the business side, training around, team development and leadership and communication, because there's always going to be new people coming in. There's always going to be a need for some refresher. Just similarly, there's always going to be a need for a wide range of clinical topics. I don't really have like a top 5 other than what I was just sharing with you, as far as what I see. I have 3 different focuses in my business, and one of them is the Dental Speakers Bureau. And in that role, I work with meeting planners pretty much every day. I also work with speakers pretty much every day. And from what I've seen, it's just really varied. There are thousands of meetings out there, literally thousands of meetings in dentistry. And that's why I say, I really think we've got it going on. It's a strong industry. And when I compare to the folks I talk to in other medical speaking industries, or chiropractic or dietitians or other healthcare related, our honorariums are much higher. Our meetings are really strong. I don't see how you can go wrong with any topic that is a good solid dental topic, if it's not just way out in left field.
Warren Buffett always says, I don't care if you're a ballerina or a rock concert. just don't tell people it's a rock concert and then show them a ballet. So when you're talking about dental honorariums and you have a bunch of people listening to you that are thinking maybe they want to be a speaker someday, what is the satisfaction equals perception minus expectation? What is a reasonable honorarium for someone starting out? What are you seeing in the market, and then what does it top out at? What is beginners?
I'd be
what
happy
is
to share
average?
that with you.
Yeah.
Sure, I'd be happy to share that with you. And I think it's not like there's a couple elements. And so I'm going to give you this could be a 3-hour course, or I'm going to give you the real high level view. It really does come down to the amount of experience someone has as a speaker. And I think when they get started, because not just as a speaker, but is their course really well developed? And what are the results they're getting? Because that's going to help you know if you're going to start upping your honorarium. And when I say results, I always encourage the speakers I coach to get to the point where they get spin-off business every time they speak. In other words, when they give a presentation, we want that to spin off interest in consulting or product sales or something. And so that's what I mean by results. So where I see honorarium starting is from anywhere from $0 to $1,500, $2,500, at a starting range. That's what we ask. But it really, in speaking around the honorarium, it comes down to two things: what we ask and what the meeting has, right? What their budget is. So this is really a complex topic. But as far as what's possible in dentistry, I think there are those elite speakers who are, and I should also say clinical tends to be paid higher than business topics. But on the clinical side, those elite speakers that we see speaking around the industry a lot, I would not be surprised if they're able to command $7,500, $8,500 when they speak. That's usually not all coming from the meeting. If it's a larger meeting, it's also in conjunction with sponsorship. But, I think there are study clubs out there I've seen that could pay that for the right speaker. But that takes years to get there, and a real investment in your career. In other words, you're gaining education. I have a cat rescue in my home. You've gathered. And if I don't open this door, he's going to continue. Is this the first time you've ever had this happen, Howard?
No, I've had my cat jump on the screen during a podcast at least 5 different times.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like here in Phoenix. There's cats everywhere, and we have a little sanctuary. He would have cried the whole time. But it's really possible to have a good business as a speaker, to make a fair amount. But most people, when they speak, they think about speaking as a marketing activity for something else. So it's more than speaking in that business.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, why would a dentist want to speak for $1,500 on the other side of the country when they could earn that in their dental office easily and wake up in their own bed, go to sleep in their own bed? So you're saying clinical commands more than practice management, and most people are using the seminar for a marketing opportunity. Would you say that's?
Yeah. That's what I would say. Do you see, as you look around the industry, would you say the same, that most of the speakers we see out there are also consultants or have something to sell?
Yes. And there's nothing that will get your career moving faster than $1 billion company that says, oh my God. So it's kind of tough, because which came first, the chicken or the egg? If some wet glove dentist really loves your dental product, then it's to your advantage that person speaks all over. Do these big companies that do $1 billion a year, do they have a lot of control at these conventions of who's speaking? I mean, when you go to a big dental meeting and there's 100 speakers, how many of them were kind of shooed to the stadium, to the front of the room because they have a big booth out there?
Shoot to the front of the room. Do you mean as far as being invited to speak?
Yeah, if I'm going to have this big display at a convention and drop $100,000 on a convention floor, but I only want to do it if these 2 or 3 guys are speaking. How common is that? Is that the norm, or is that rare?
I think at the larger conventions, it's frequent that the sponsors have the ability to place speakers on the agenda. For sure. I've seen that for years, where they can bring in speakers that they choose to put on. Not all meetings, especially smaller meetings. And there's so many different types of meetings, but the larger meetings, for sure, we've seen that.
So when you're, how many, would you say the speaking skill is all natural, or do you coach these people to do Toastmasters or improv or comedy school or, Dale Carnegie courses? How do you fine tune them as a speaker?
That's a great question. So I don't teach presentation skills and content development, but there are multiple people who are speaker development coaches in the industry. My focus is really more on like the marketing side. It has been marketing, and then like to help them with their websites or marketing materials. And then we also have our bureau, which helps connect meeting planners and speakers and helps them find each other. And our third area of focus is Dental Speaker Institute. I've got my little banner up here behind me. And that is a curriculum is being developed where there'll be a professional designation that can be earned for professional speakers. And in that, it's really a master's-based, it's like a master's program, education-based for speakers to be able to get those skills. So when you ask, well, how do we get started or what do we encourage them to do to become better speakers? Can I share my book?
Absolutely. But it's not out. It's not on Amazon. I looked for it this morning on Amazon. When's it come out?
It's going to be this week. I've got my proof copy here. It says not for resale, but it will be this week. So you think you want to speak in dentistry? This is really geared toward the dental professional who wants to get started. And what I encourage them to do in this book, and really for anyone who has been started and wants to improve their skills, Toastmasters is a great place to get started because it's super low cost and it's right in your hometown, and you can put in as much time as you want there, and you can work through their program and get some experience. But in addition to that, I really do encourage working with some of the dental, not just dental, but the speaker development coaches that are out there in the world. There are quite a few that are in dentistry, and at the back of the book in the appendix, and I'd be happy to give a copy to anybody if they want to shoot me an email, info@thedentalspeaker.com. I'll just shoot you an e-version of that. And there's an appendix at the back that lists different educators who can help you with their own individual workshops that you can go to learn certain skills, whether it's writing your speech or presenting your speech. And Howard, would you agree that it's something that over time you just get better and better, especially the more you invest in learning? Has that been your experience?
You mean in how to be a better speaker?
Yeah.
I really recommend, I lectured for years without ever thinking of the science of it. Like maybe 10 years before I ever thought about it. Is there a science to this? And what got me interested is I always did stand-up comedy. That was my hobby. And I've done, all the comedy clubs in town here several times. So I went to the comedy school in Tempe, and the guy that teaches, his name is Tony Visich. And it was so amazing because it was just like 2 or 3 hour classes. I think it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 6 weeks. I think it was 2 hours a night, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 6 weeks. And every concept he was teaching, I was like, oh, wow, I had thought about something like this, but I called it that, or a hook or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it really, I kind of felt like I went from a dental assistant who's been assisting dentistry for 10 years and could do any of the fillings and crowns to actually being a dentist and understanding the science behind it. And I think, I just think it's amazing. I think comedy is the most brutal art form because you're not relying on your PowerPoint. You're not, standing there behind it. It's just you and a microphone, and it's brutal. You're gonna live or die in a minute. And so I think that was great. I think improv was great because the crowd says things, they say questions off the cuff. So you just have to understand improv mind. But some of the rules are so simple. I mean, talk about something you're passionate about. Everything in your presentation is a crux. The slides are a crutch. It's just you connecting with the audience, and to grab a microphone and to walk off the stage and go into the crowd and start looking in people's eyes and talking about what you're passionate about. I mean, that's the secret sauce. So if you're talking about something you're not passionate about, it's going to be horrible. And if you are speaking on something you're not passionate about, why are you speaking on it? I mean,
Exactly. So and those things you're passionate about are typically what you have experience in, and that's going to help you really be seen as an influencer or thought leader.
So you have 3 different websites. So let's say that a dentist is listening to you right now and she's thinking she might want to be a speaker. Does she go to dentalspeakersbureau.com, thedentalspeaker.com, or dentalspeakinginstitute.com? Explain these 3 different websites. Where does she go first?
Sure. So the Dental Speaker is our brand. It's our that would be the mothership.
The mothership
Right?
is
So
the Dental Speaker.
The Dental Speaker, that's kind of our overarching brand. And so under the Dental Speaker is examples of some of the marketing campaigns we do. It's a creative agency. We create websites and speaker packets and print and email campaigns. That's really how I got started years ago with my business, was helping speakers one-on-one with creating the materials they need. Dental Speakers Bureau originally was Directory of Dental Speakers, and Howard, we were involved there together, and then it grew up into Dental Speakers Bureau. So what's different about it now is that it's more of a hybrid. It was more of like a yellow page, white page approach, and now with it being more of a hybrid, meeting planners will reach out to me, and I'll talk to them individually, help guide them, help them find what they're looking for, take more of a, take them by the hand approach, and help them find the right fit for their meeting. It's not a traditional bureau, whereas there's no commission, and it's a really super low price to be involved. It's a little bit of a hybrid. What I'm most excited about is Dental Speaker Institute and our annual Jumpstart conference. And the Institute, I mentioned, we're developing our curriculum now, which is going to be that master's program with a professional designation that can be earned. And that will be rolled out with this. We're working on the website now. The first classes will be available in 2020. And at our January conference, it'll be our 3rd meeting here in Phoenix at Jumpstart 2020. We'll roll out more specifics about how someone can get involved. Ultimately, where I see Dental Speaker Institute going is that there will be quarterly weekend workshops, similar to how NSA the National Speakers Association has done their labs over the years where they'll choose a topic, and on that weekend we might work on writing a speech for the weekend. So there will be lots of opportunities for education through Dental Speaker Institute throughout the year, and then we have our big annual conference, which I'd love to tell you a little bit more about.
Yeah, tell us all about it.
Well, we are, as you've gathered, all things dental speaker. But I think our Jumpstart's different in that that's really geared to be more of a meetings professionals gathering. Annually, we invite meeting planners and sponsors, and we educate all 3 of those groups. We have opportunities for speakers to be scouted there. And we also will be discussing some of these topics that you've asked me about, the future of CE. Where are meetings growing? Are they growing? What are some of the challenges, and who's finding ways to meet those challenges and find success? We'll be having masterminds and panels, as well as multiple education sessions, so that we can, I think it's really important to bring those 3 sectors together: the planner, the sponsor, the speaker, because we all need each other in this meeting professional, as meeting professionals, to be able to grow our industry. And so we're purposely bringing all 3 together to be able to increase the conversation and to be able to openly share.
So that's here in 2019, right here in Chandler, Arizona. What's the date on that?
It'll be actually January 2020. I don't have the website updated yet. We're still finalizing our agenda. So it's January 9 through 11. It'll be actually in Mesa. We're really close to the airport, but you probably know this area, Howard. We're going to be at the Sheraton Wrigleyville, which is right next to, of course, where the Cubs play their spring training games, the little Wrigley Stadium here in Phoenix.
Right on. So how much is so it's January 9 to 11, 2020, right? Correct. Okay. Yes. So, and in Mesa, Arizona at the Sheraton, and how much does it cost?
The regular registration is $2,100. We're doing an early bird registration. I don't have an end date on that, probably till early fall. $300 off. This makes it $1,800 for 3 days. The discount code is early bird, all one word, early bird, to save $300. And you can register at jumpstart2020.com.
Jumpstart at what? 2020.com or what?
It's jumpstart2020.com is where you can register.
2020.com. I'm right there.
Awesome.
Right. So,
and our agenda will be online this summer.
So it says, if you are a dental professional who works or consults in the practice and also shares your expertise by speaking across the nation, register now to secure your seat in Jumpstart 2020. Boost your skills and gain knowledge and strategies to advance as a dental speaker and platform professionals. Usually so if you had 100 people attend, how many would be dentists, hygienists, assistants, practice management consultants? Who would these people be?
Well, we're already at 110. We think we'll probably bring 200 in. And roughly half of them are speakers. And then the other half will be like meeting planners, sponsors, faculty, people who are speaking at our conference, that kind of thing. So of the half that are speakers, last year, Dr. Paul Homily, I'm sure you know Paul, who's also here in town, was teaching a workshop, and he just did a random survey. Raise your hand if you're a wet-fingered clinician, if you're currently practicing, and 2/3 of our room raised their hand. So that gives you an idea. We do have a good mix of doctors, hygienists, for sure, as well as practice management consultant, business side.
The DS, dentists have a really hard time with hiring associates because you don't go to school 8 to 10 years to be somebody's employee. It's just too highly educated, too aggressive of a human that just dentists, lawyers, physicians, they don't make good employees. But the ones who have slowed down the employee turnover the most, like Heartland, credits it all because they give so much continuing education to their doctors. And a lot of doctors will pick Heartland over some other associate job because they're going to get a lot of experience in placing implants or Invisalign. So do you see that growing in the speakers business where a big DSO will say, okay, I want to hire this speaker and I want them to, spread out across all my, like Heartland has 900 offices. Do you see that growing? Is that a big?
Yes, and I think for the savvy speaker, they go after that. For years now, we've seen this coming where there are more and more the DSO, the corporate, the groups of all sizes. And I think the savvy speaker would purposely seek out groups like AADGP, Dental Group Practices, which is also here in Phoenix. We got such a big dental thing going on here in Phoenix.
AADGP, is that what you called it? AAGP?
AADGP, Dental Group Practices, organizations like that association where you can purchase their member list for about $50 off the website and go after those, all those different size organizations that have multiple practices, and seek them out, find out if there's an opportunity for you to teach on your topic. But I think, yes, I think that it is growing, that more speakers are working in the DSO and the group world, corporate dentistry. And I think that's really a smart thing to do.
So who's the American Academy of Dental Group Practice, building better groups together? Who's all that?
I don't know that I know them that well. I know they're over on Biltmore, at the Biltmore, but they're an association, and so I think they probably have a membership, that are leadership that turns over. But over the years, I've purchased their list or have been involved at their meetings with some of the speakers I work with. Have spoken for them. They speak around the country, or they have meetings around the country, I should say.
Well, you're also involved with the you were the the Academy of Dental Practice Management Consultants, ADMC.
Mm-hmm.
That's Bonnie.
It's Academy of Dental Management,
right? Bonnie Pugh.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, we froze a little bit there. Bonnie Pugh is the executive director. Our current president is Laura Jameson, and Roy Shelburne is the VP. Will be the incoming president.
Oh, like mother, like daughter. Kathy, is she? Did the apple fall far from the Kathy Jameson tree? Kathy and John Jameson.
Oh, this is actually different Jameson. It's spelled differently, but similarly wonderful.
So again, they're listening to you right now. They want to be a speaker. You said that the dentalspeaker.com is the mothership. What is that, where they should go first? Is that the first website they should go to?
I think that'd be a great site to go to. But I speak pretty much every day to someone who's interested in getting started or who has been speaking and wants to grow their business. And so I would be happy to chat with anybody. I mean, the best thing would probably be email me, info@thedentalspeaker.com. Will get right to me, info@the Dental Speaker. I was going to buy dentalspeaker.com, Howard, but it was like $30,000. So I thought I'm just going to call it The Dental Speaker instead. So be sure you put the in, info@thedentalspeaker.com, and just let me know you'd like to chat. And then I'll shoot you a link to my calendar and be happy to chat with anybody. I'm happy to send a copy of the book. I like to just give it away. The information. I think it's really helpful for people to know if they're wanting to get started. There's that idea of sitting in the meeting, watching the speaker, and thinking, could I do that? Or sometimes people think I could do it better. Unfortunately, I hear that a lot. But they look at that and think, could I do that? But they don't really know how to get there.
It's funny because the National Speakers Association is right here in Tempe, and everybody takes a double look at it because you see this building that says the NSA, and everybody immediately thinks it's, something related to the CIA or the FBI. And probably the most famous dental speaker of all time was the president of the National Speakers Association, Jim and Naomi Rowe. They were huge in the NSA. Is there a lot of crossover? Do you see NSA people saying, hey, here's this dental industry with 211,000 licensed dentists in the United States? And then what about vice versa? Have you seen many dentists say what applies here and works well in dentistry applies to other verticals, and I'm going to go to the NSA? Has that been a helpful boost for people's career?
I think to some degree. I don't see a lot of it, no, but I think it's smart. I think it depends on the topic, but there are a fair number of people who can speak in more than just dentistry based on their topic, like leadership or communication, or some things that would fare well in many different industries. And similarly, people who are giants in other industries on those type of topics can come here and speak. But what I see for the most part in dental is if you're from outside the industry, meaning that you don't really have dental experience, it's not super easy to break into because we have a really thriving with thousands of speakers, right? I mentioned thousands of meetings. There are thousands of speakers. I know because I've got email lists, my own list of a couple thousand speakers at all times. So it's not super simple to just hop into dental and go, oh, it's a great market and be heard. You'd really have to have something specific that, it's about branding yourself and differentiating, right? To be able to be heard above the noise.
So how do you, what works best for a speaker as far as their marketing? Is their own social media footprint? Is that a huge correlator to speaking, creating demand to hear your lecture?
Sure. I think that's level 2. Level 1 really starts with the speaker packet. On thedentalspeaker.com, there's a portfolio page, Howard, and there's some website examples there, but there's about 24 speaker packet examples. A speaker packet really has course descriptions written out, your bio, a list of where you've spoken, testimonials, some of those things you accumulate as you start speaking more. It's a document that meeting planners will ask for by name. So I think it really starts the foundation for the newer speakers to make sure they have a good, solid speaker packet and then build out a web presence. Even if you have just a landing page, I think it's super important that you have something online. If a meeting planner hears about you and they search online and they don't find you, then it's as if you're not really speaking. So it's really important to have a web presence. And as you grow, there's a lot to invest in as you get started, right? There's all that education we talked about. There's the materials. So just, you can do it in pieces. And as you continue to grow and as you're earning more, you can invest more back into your business. But then once you establish a speaker packet and the website, and maybe do an ongoing campaign like an email blast that goes out every couple months to meeting planners, then and there are lists that can be purchased on that same website. So that's like the elephant in the room is how do I know who the planners are? Well, there are some lists. then you graduate to level 2, which is kind of like everything else. So you had mentioned really what I would call being seen as an influencer or as a thought leader. And so certainly blogging, social media, podcasts, like with this activity today serves both my business and yours. And we see this happening all over the industry, but it's about putting yourself out there as an influencer. Years ago, I heard the statistic 3/4 of people will go where you lead them. Someone was teaching scheduling, actually, dental office scheduling, and they said, 3 out of 4 people will go where you put them in the schedule. But I think that works through all of our marketing, that when you hang out your shingle and you create a website and materials that look as if you've been doing this for some time, it gives this impression to the people that you're wanting to have hire you, that it feels like it's not your first rodeo. And not that we're trying to in any way pull the wool over their eyes, but we're wanting to, you have to get started somehow. And this helps you get started when you have that fundamental first level of marketing, and then you move into your social media. That was a long answer. Thank you for the question.
So you're recommending they go to thedentalspeaker.com and then click the portfolio, and the portfolio shows these people who want to speak more, and they're amazing people. How much do they have to pay you to build this website package to get everything they need so they can start effectively marketing to meeting planners more efficiently?
That's a great question. And so those are some of the examples of some of the materials that we've created, right? So there's not a cookie cutter off the shelf solution. It really depends on where they're at. And so you would expect to pay, at least a couple $1,000s for a speaker packet, because it's the writing of it, the designing of it, and the creation of an ongoing campaign through our agency. Now, there are ways to do that for more or for less money. We're certainly not the only graphic designers. What I think is special about what we do is that we have nearly 20 years experience creating courses. Howard, I've actually had ADA state and national meeting planners send speakers to me because they know they need help with their packet, and they know that we know how to put it in the right format so that it can qualify for CE.
And do people who want to speak, do you think, why do you think they really want to do it? Deep down inside, why do they want to be a speaker? I mean, you got dentists here on your portfolio, amazing dentists, successful practices. Why do you think they want to do it?
I think there's multiple reasons, but one would be that you get to a place in your career where you are an expert at something. You maybe have kind of plateaued in a way. It's like about the passion of getting up every day and getting to work and like what's new and exciting in our lives. And I think that as you build those clinical skills or those business skills, and you find that you're kind of guiding people anyway, like your colleagues are asking you questions, or that's how I got started with my business, as people started asking. I was working with Catherine Belt, which I think probably you probably have worked with Catherine on a similar podcast before. And I found that her colleagues were asking, well, how are you finding success with that? And what are you doing? And so Catherine really encouraged me to spread my wings, even while I was working with her early on, to start creating this marketing firm. And I think it's similar in that I'll have people that become practice management consultants that tell me that, there are other office managers in their community are asking them questions, or, people are asking and they're already seeing you as a leader. And it's just a natural progression. Besides the fact that not for everybody, but for a fair number of people, it's fun. Would you agree it's fun?
So who was that, Catherine? Who?
Catherine Belt.
How do you spell
She's
Eitel
Lion
Belt?
Speak. EITEL Belt. Her website is lionspeak.net.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I got started.
And
you probably know Catherine.
Yeah, and
Southern California.
Yeah. So tell us about your journey. How did you get into this? How did that happen?
I was working in general surgery. I was an office manager for a general surgeon, and in northeastern Arizona, you would know Sholo, Howard, and there's a small little regional medical center up there, and the doctor I worked with worked in Pine Top, this little get away from the heat for the rest of us. And so it was really small, remote area. And because there was not a lot of people that were trained for this, I was actually trained to go into the operating room and hold the laparoscope. And I loved it. And I'll tell you honestly, if he had not retired, I would still be there because I love surgery and just love that whole environment. But life had other plans for me. And he retired for the second time. I was pretty sure he wasn't going to come back to work. And so I answered an ad in the paper back in the day. It was early 2001, back when there were newspaper ads for jobs. And that's how it was synchrodestiny. When Catherine opened the door at her office for my interview, I just knew I liked her right away. And I would say she's one of my dearest friends, like a sister to me.
Wow. And that was your journey, how you got into this entire business.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I started out as her office manager, as a speaker and consultant. I had no idea what a speaker and consultant was. I really didn't know much about dentistry. I didn't have any experience working in a dental office.
Wow, that is an amazing journey. So, what are you most excited about now? What are you most passionate about now, as opposed to when you entered this with Catherine 20 years ago?
Oh, what I'm most excited about now is that we're really becoming a seminars company as we continue to grow. We'll always serve speakers with the marketing. We'll always have the bureau that connects them. But our Dental Speaker Institute side of things, I love the education side of it. I love that we're going to be creating meetings that provide new alternatives. We're bringing in speaker development coaches from outside the industry. And really, because we do have such a great, thriving meetings industry, I feel like there's a real opportunity to educate speakers and really help them up their game, which only helps everyone in the long run. Because if you're a better educator, then our attendees are going to have better education, which is going to go back and filter down to our patients. So on the business side, that's what I'm most excited about.
So on a supply and demand, I've seen a huge increase in supply of conventions since I got out of dental school 32 years ago. I mean, take Arizona, for instance. They started that huge yearly annual Western Regional meeting. There's just so many more meetings and they keep adding supplies. And then on the demand side, you're competing with online CE. So how do you see the supply and demand of that business going with an increase in number of meetings and a decrease in demand from online?
I think that being face-to-face at a meeting provides you with more than education, right? It provides you with the networking too. That's a really vital key in growing your business as a dentist, a hygienist, whoever, office manager, whoever's there at that meeting. I think there's much more value than just the education, but I think the education is at the core, and ultimately, it's the responsibility of those who are planning to stay on top of what's new and what's current. There are other industry associations, like I should say not industry, but like big international, like Meeting Professionals International, MPI, it's like NSA is for speakers, National Speakers Association. So MPI has meetings annually as well, and they're really just out there on the cutting edge with meeting planners from all industries, from all different types of meetings, and they're sharing what's new and what we can bring technology in. For instance, at our last Jumpstart, John Stamper with his Dental Cast Productions was there, and he did Facebook Live from portions of our meeting. There's things we can do. I haven't really rolled this out, but I'll share it with you.
Nice. You heard it first on Dentistry Uncensored.
You heard it first. We're actually going to have a virtual component of our meeting in January. So if you're not able to attend, because we've had a couple people who the date just didn't work for them, but they really wanted to be there. With John Stamper's Dental Cast Productions, has created a platform where you can actually watch our meeting or other meetings while they're happening, or they're recorded so you can watch them later. So I think it's not just online or in person. There's let's use technology. Let's use where things are always going to continue to change, right? I mean, we have to be able to shift with it if we want to be able to stay current and relevant.
So some people are saying that the book is the new business card, that kind of to get to the entry level in this business. Like you're just coming out with the book. So I want to be a dental speaker. Available on Amazon or your website?
It is. It is. It will be on my website. It's going to be available on Amazon this week. So you think you want to speak in dentistry, and but here's the thing. I don't care if I ever sell a copy,
Right.
because I will give it to anybody because it behooves me to do so. That's an old-fashioned word, right? Behooves. But and I would say for many speakers, I'm following in their footprint. I'm following in the advice from my business coach, Mark LeBlanc, who market with the book. And yes, I think it's really like a business card or a brochure. You could ebook. You could do you know what, Howard? This has cost less than $500 for me to get this on Amazon. It just doesn't have to cost a lot.
So
I just had to write it.
So you see it as a big marketing opportunity.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think it makes people think you're an expert. I mean, it's one thing to have an opinion. Yeah. Like the next time you hear someone with a anti-fluoridation communist, conspiracy deal, it's real easy to say, you got a book on that with some references or any resources about
some science.
Some science behind your thoughts. So do you think it and I also think that when you speak, like say you go to a big meeting and they bring you in, that's a third person endorsement, because the dentist sitting there at the big meeting thinking, well, they just wouldn't let in an idiot to speak. I mean, don't you have to be a cut above the rest? So a book, being invited to speak, these third person endorsements really help satiate the social needs of a sapien. Would you agree?
I agree. And I think it's about being seen as an influencer, right? That's a current term that people use, key opinion leader, thought leader, whatever. And what's interesting about this is that I totally drove this. I didn't need someone else's approval, right? And so that's why anybody can write a book. And it does it's again, that whole idea that people tend to go where you lead them. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to do something unethical. But the bottom line is my schedule tends to be booked out a couple weeks in advance because I'm on the phone all day with these kind of conversations. So it makes sense for me, or it makes sense for you, the speaker who is also, in the practice all week, and you have a limit to your time. It makes sense for you to gather those thoughts together. This is a small book. This is only like 55 pages. And this is really just how to get started if you're a professional who wants to get started. It's not like all things, everything, but I took a little bite and got it published. And now I'm a published author. And it's that same idea for anyone who wants to be seen as an expert out there, as a consultant or speaker. It's actually not hard to do. And it's not, and cost really shouldn't be a factor. Because like I say, for under $500, I have it on Amazon. And if anybody wants to know who I worked with to do that, I'd be happy to connect you.
So which website can they get the book from your website? The Dental Speaker Bureau or the dentalspeaker.com, or which one?
The Dental Speaker. The Dental Speaker, but it's not there yet.
It's not there yet, because I'm on the book. I'm on the book looking for it. That is, I've also noticed there's been people talking about on Dental Town. I've got emails on it that there's now a lot of fraud in inviting you to speak at international meetings, where someone says, we're having this big meeting and it's some big old fancy place. Have you seen any of this fraud?
Yes, for years. For years. I know that it's not real when they say, Dr. Emerson, we'd like you to come talk on oral cancer or something, because I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I don't, there's clues like that, but sometimes they'll actually, sometimes it's harder to tell. I would always, I wrote a blog on this years ago, like to just be smart, like it's not a Nigerian prince asking for money, but it is something out of the blue. This like coming to China to talk at this conference, and like, how did they find you? And I would not click on any of the links, but instead, if I think it might be legit, I would instead search safely online to see if it's even a real conference. some speakers have shared with me is that they did follow the lead, they did reach back, and then they felt like it was more of a fishing expedition to try to get their information and stuff. So just be super cautious. Howard, I know that some people want to speak because they do want to travel and they do want to be able to go other places, but I feel like there's not much money in that. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's not a lot of money in the international travel. And I feel like there's so many opportunities here that I don't need to travel to, China or India or Saudi Arabia or somewhere to speak for $300.
So how are they making money on these fraudsters? And I think they're mostly on Twitter. I mean, you're always getting all these people, some big meeting and, like say somewhere in Asia, Africa, Europe, whatever. And it's, and then you go through it and like say, if it's too good to be true, it's not. But whenever they're asking money from you for you to go be a speaker somewhere, I mean, how much more insane does it have
Red
to
flag.
be? But I see it a lot. I see it mostly on Twitter. How about you?
I get emails. I actually receive emails, and I'll know that something's up because the same day I get an email, I'll hear from 5 or 6 people saying, "I received this email. Do you think it's legit?" But so for me, it's mostly emails.
So what? So they're going to go to your website, the dentalspeakerbureau.com, or they'll go to the dentalspeaker.com, or they'll go to the Dental Speaker Institute. And which one did you say first? You said the mothership was
the dental speaker. All things.
And
so just think about us as all things the dental speaker, and then when you get there, the other menu items will be some of the other sites.
And what are they going to find the most on your website? They're trying to work now. When they get to work and check out your website, what are they going to be looking for on the dentalspeaker.com?
Well, there's examples there of what marketing could look like, should look like. I hate to say should because there's more than one right answer, but there's some really good examples of marketing there on the portfolio. We have a list of meeting planners there. There will this week hopefully be a page about purchasing the book. And it will also be a gateway to get you over to Dental Speakers Bureau to see what that looks like. We have over 100 speakers there on Dental Speaker Bureau that are available looking for engagements. And Dental Speaker Institute, ultimately where the curriculum will be, and our more information about Jumpstart 2020 will be there this summer.
So you're pretty.
For right now, you could go to Jumpstart. Pardon?
Yeah. Jumpstart.com. We went there.
Jumpstart2020.com for registration.
Jumpstart2020.com. That is amazing.
I need a few more websites, don't you think?
Yeah. So have you thought about that? I mean, like Amazon only has one website, but it's all the suffixes and prefixes and everything after. You could easily merge those 3 to 1. Do you think you'll do that or not really?
That's an idea, something to think about. I feel like they're really three separate entities, 3 really different functions. So we'll see.
So of all your speakers that you're working with, who do you think is the most overlooked? Who do you think is the biggest up and coming star that hasn't been noticed yet?
Ooh, okay, so names that pop, and thank you for this opportunity to share some people. Last year, Jumpstart, we had a speaking competition, and I'd like to share the 2 winners with you. Our judge's choice was Dr. Emil Svoboda, and his website is reversemargin.com. No, sorry, he's got a couple too. It's thesvobodaway.com, SVOBODA, Svobodaway, thesvobodaway.com. And he won our judge's choice, and he speaks on a topic that's related to dental implants around, I don't know all the proper terms, but it's like it keeps the cement from going down below the gum. There's a device. And on the People's Choice, the Facebook vote, voted for Karen Daw. And Karen Daw speaks on compliance issues. She's KarenDaw.com.
How do you spell Daw?
Really think
D-A?
D-A-W.
D-A-W?
And I think that, Karen Daw, DAW.com. Her presentation was so delightful. They laughed the whole time. And this was OSHA we were talking about. And her videos, the videos are on both of those sites, Howard. I'd encourage you and your listeners to take a view. Those are, I'm sure there are many that, but those pop to mind as two people who are not speaking like all the time yet, who will be, that both are just really super talented.
I've been speaking at conventions since I actually August. It was August 9th, 1990. So it's been a long time. So next year, August, my staff wants to have some party or something for the 30-year anniversary. But going to all those conventions and having breakfast, lunch, or dinner with you talk to the people that brought you in or whatever, they always have told me for 30 years that the number one complaint at every dental convention was there wasn't anything from the staff. The dentist takes their whole staff and everything's so dentist to dentist. It's so clinical. So that was what I have always heard for 30 years. What have you heard?
At the convention, it feels to me like there's a whole lot for team now. One area I think that was somewhat not overlooked, but like just didn't have as much attention was the dental assistant, which I think is getting a lot more attention now. Kevin Henry put together a program that he's offered around to some of the bigger conventions where they do a full day for the assistant with multiple speakers, and then there are other people who speak in that area. And I'm seeing the dental assistant get a lot more attention now. Mary Gavoni, Julie Varney are some people that I'm thinking of in that area that pop to the top. But as far as for team, I think there's a fair amount on the business side, team building, communications, leadership systems, that sort of thing at conventions.
Yeah, Kevin Henry is just doing amazing. So you're seeing that him really filling a void. Do you think there's any other areas in speaking where you think it needs more supply?
More topic areas in speaking? I would love to see more new, relevant, and I think we're starting to see that, like I mentioned, vaping. Now that's kind of a recent thing where multiple people are coming out with topics on vaping or is it CBD oil? Some of those things are new. There's always an interest in new. And when meeting planners reach out to me through the Bureau, they'll ask me, what are new topics? So I'll also ask me, do you have some new up and comers that you think are going to be stars? Like the question you asked me, so that they don't want to bring necessarily the same people over and over. And that's part of the idea that we want to be able to make our meetings relevant. And if we have the same speakers every year, people tend to look at that and go, I've heard him or her.
So how has podcasting, how new would you say is podcasting? I mean, it technically came out when Steve Jobs came out with the smartphone, and that must have been 2007, 2008. But when do you see it really taking off in dentistry, and how has that affected speaking? Do people who podcast have a higher success rate in speaking or not? Or how does that influence it?
I think there are so many podcasts now in dental, and that's part of the challenge is there's so many to listen to, right? It's just like so many emails we get in our box every day. It's like there's a competition for our attention. I think some of the early adopters like yourself, and there's a handful of others that like pop to the top in my mind that I know are out there and consistently with a large audience. I think it's more of a challenge for someone to get a traction now with podcasting because it's definitely not new. But to your question of how far does that go in establishing you as an influencer, I think it's definitely worth the effort. And what I find is that many speakers and consultants struggle with getting a blog up on their website, but yet it's easier to do what we're doing. Like I didn't have to sit down and write an article and get it just perfect, but we could just talk and then they could take something like this video, get it on YouTube and get it on their blog, on their website, but they could also push it out via email. So you're able to get a lot more traction and a lot more exposure with blog. Has that been your experience, Howard?
I just love when you call it blog because actually the history of podcasting previously began, it was called audio blogging. And that was back in the 80s, but it really didn't take off till Apple got a hold of it in 2004. But it's amazing. You're always giving away your age when you call it a blog, an audio blog, a video blog. But now it's just a podcast. Dental Town is amazing. It has 72 podcasts. And a lot of people think that everyone listens to them on iTunes, but a lot of people get in their car. And, we have 65,000 dentists in the United States that have downloaded the Dental Town app, and they go to the podcast, and they have 72 to pick from. And some of them have been amazing. Like some of these people put up a podcast and just the views on Dental Town, because I don't know what views they're getting on iTunes and YouTube, but there's people on Dental Town where you can see their numbers where they put up a podcast and now have over 500,000 views. I mean, half a million views. How big would you say the average attendance is at a seminar?
Oh, gosh.
When someone's speaking, what do you think the average size is?
Like in their room, you mean?
Yeah. When they're out there lecturing.
So average. So like it depends on the type of meeting, right? But like a big meeting like Hinman or Chicago, maybe 100, 200 people, like average. I mean, there's some, or maybe a little bigger, but study club, a couple dozen would be a good turnout. It really varies. What do you think?
Well, if you got 500,000 views, 500,000 divided by
100,
by one, or you want to go 100 is the average?
Sure, because that'd be easy, right?
I mean that's the equivalent of going out and speaking 5,000 times to 100 people. I mean, there some of the most famous speakers that have come and gone and are no longer here on Earth didn't speak to that many people. I mean, it's just the digital audio blog, video blog, or podcast. I mean, the reach of it is crazy. And when I get emails from dentists, like I got an email last night from, I'm a lot of dentists in India. And whenever I get an email from India, I always think, okay, when I go lecture in India, it's a 5-hour flight from Phoenix to New York, layover 2 hours, 15-hour flight to New Delhi, wake up in a zombie state, lecture all day, then go back to the hotel or the airport, 15 hours back to, I mean, it's crazy. And you did all that to talk to 200 people. And now you can talk to 2,000 without even getting dressed. I mean, it's just, it's really changed the world. Now, some people think that if I create an online CE course or if I do a podcast or whatever, then they've heard me. So if they've already heard me, then they don't want to come see me. And I've always seen it as the opposite. I've always seen that people who create an online course on Dental Town, they just expose themselves for an hour to a whole bunch of people. And some of that is going to work on, I want to hear more of you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think so. It's like a ramp up, right? It's like how we have different levels of products that we sell at different price points and stuff. It's that same idea of ramping up into then actually coming to for your own workshop, for instance. Like you could create your own podcast where just you are the speaker who talks for a half hour, 45 minutes to share, some information. I don't want it to be that we don't give information away, but like we can't fit 3 hours worth into a 45-minute, but that could be enough to get someone a drink to know that, oh, I want more of that. And so then they come to your own workshop or to see you at a workshop or a conference.
What do you wish I would have asked that I forgot to ask?
How do you work with me?
How do they work with you?
That would be a great one.
They go to info@thedentalspeaker and email you.
That's right. They email me and then we hop on and schedule some time. We're really here to help people in a wide range. I think one of the values that we can bring from our organization to the market is that we know a lot of people. We've got a pretty deep network now of speaker development coaches as well as meeting planners. And so I think one of the things that is helpful about chatting with me is that it's not about selling you into something. It's really more about giving you resources, helping you know what that next right step might be. And so I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone who would like to hop on my schedule.
So your seminar is going to be in Mesa, Arizona.
January 9 through 11, 2020. If you go to jumpstart2020.com, you can register and use discount code EARLYBIRD, all one word, to save $300.
And when that book, when it goes live on your website, email me the link to howard@dentaltown.com, and I'll publish it on all Dentaltown and all the social media. And I want to,
awesome.
We've been neighbors for over 20 years? How long have you lived in the Valley? I've been here since 87.
Well, I'm a native Arizonan, but I've lived in the Valley since 82. For just a couple of years, I was in Southern California. So yeah, pretty much.
Where were you born?
The whole time.
What area?
Springerville.
Springerville?
I grew up in Snowflake.
In Snowflake. Ah, man, gosh, love that place.
There's really a place called Snowflake in Arizona.
So You Think You Want to Speak in Dentistry by Vanessa Emerson. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on the show today and helping all my homies decide if they want to throw their hat in the dental speaking ring.
Thanks for having me. It was a delight. It's always great to see you, Howard.
All right. I hope you have a rocking hot day.